Hey everybody, so I'm gonna showcase another interesting thing that I was working on recently. Basically what you're looking at is a converter of images into color text art that looks like that, and I use my own character encoding scheme and my own font and set of characters that is not based on ASCII or ANSI code pages, although there's a superset of some DOS code pages. You may recognize some characters that are present in the DOS code pages, such as box drawing characters, and the image is famous for being used for in various tests of image processing algorithms to compare results, so it was used ubiquitously for that purpose. The generation is now set on pause, but you can unpause it and see how the search is done for each cell. Each cell is 8 by 8 pixels. This is the size of the small console font, and for each block the algorithm tries to find the best match that fits the original image the best. And if we slow down the search, and you can trace how the solutions are expanded, and more of them are put into a queue for later search, and the algorithm then used is an A*-like algorithm that performs a search on graphs. There are two graphs for characters and colors respectively, and colors are taken from a 8-bit palette, and glyphs are taken from the character set that contains about 1,000, in fact it's 700 and something characters at the moment, but the character set is being expanded in the future, and the coding scheme supports up to 2048 characters. Let's try another image, and this is a picture of me, and that is converted using my tool that uses my own palette, my own font, my own character set in the encoding scheme. And the quality setting is defines how many nodes we should expand for a solution. So slow down the search and set the quality to 0, and that means that only one starting node is expanded. And if we generate the image using this setting, it can be fast, but it explores only the first guess, the initial guess, that doesn't take thither into the account. And if we remove the initial guess as well, the generation becomes very fast, but it starts with the crosshatch pattern for each block, and it remains blocky because they didn't have enough time to expand solutions, and as long as we increase the quality setting, the solution becomes better and more precise. But some blocks may remain not optimal until we set the quality really high. For example, like 10 or 11 iterations mean that mostly we get to the best solution from the start, and the initial guess does its job pretty well for non-dithered blocks which don't need heavy dither, and even with zero quality there are some of them are close to the best solution that can be found, and the search space is like 60 million of possible solutions that covers all possible colors and character combination, and it will be totally impractical to search all of them, so the algorithm used the A*-like approach to expand the solutions and put the nearby similar solutions into the priority queue that is represented as a binary tree, a red-black search tree that is useful for representing queues that have to be changed dynamically. As you can see, as the search goes on, the queue grows larger, and sometimes it shrinks because all potentially appropriate solutions are exhausted, and there are no more solutions that are good enough to be searched and expanded. So the algorithm optimizes out these cases, and sometimes the queue grows really large, and the further the quality goes up, the more expansions and the more the scope. This is the number of solutions that have been tested by the algorithm, and the speed limit allows us to, well, some of them are really tough, meaning that unless we set the quality really high, their best solutions remains elusive. For example, let's see, this one keeps expanding these solutions until something happens, and there is a supernova explosion of different characters, and this one happens to become better than the initial guesses. This shows that the algorithm has some room for improvement for some things that, especially if dither is used, it makes guessing the best solution really tricky. So this is the screenshot of the console, and you can see that the algorithm can recognize what is written in the screenshot using the initial guess alone, but if we turn it off and set the quality to 0, this is what we get, because they doesn't get enough time to converge to a better solution. But if we keep the quality higher, as long as we increase the number of expansions, the solution converges to the best solution that has all characters and colors correct. You can see that some of them remain grown until we set quality to something like 7. It means that there are 2 to the power of 7 expansions at most. But of course, we don't need such many expansions for most of the characters, because they converge to the best solution sooner, but some of them require more and more. For example, W is exclusive until we have kind of like 68 iterations. So let's see. Let's use a circle that helps shows how the curved shapes can be represented using this algorithm. Also, you can see how it works. Well, quality setting. Well, the 5 and the initial guess enabled, you can yield quite satisfactory results. But as long as this is like a meme that was a kind of a demonstration of compression artifacts used to, you may encounter it somewhere. Well, also there's a 3 parameter mode and 1 parameter that is monochrome mode. It doesn't process color, and tries to imitate color by characters. This is the result, and the linear picture is like that. And the algorithm is in fact high quality because it works in linear color space and takes gamma curves into account. But you can see that there are still artifacts because the blocks are processed in isolated way and don't quite match the adjacent ones. You can see that these edges that are well into each other. And another mode is faster, but it works in gamma compressed domain. So if we compare the gamma compressed and linear color space, it gets tones, half tones better when using linear color space, but it is a bit slower because some time is required to go to the linear color space. Well, here's the graph visualizer that shows the graphs that are used for the search. Basically, that is the brains of the generator. There are 2 brains, 2 graphs. The first graph is used for colors, and the second one is contains characters or glyphs that are connected to each other based on similarity. So the similar glyphs were placed together, and the algorithm could traverse from another one, from one to another, and some of them have negative weights, which tell the algorithm that it must swap the foreground and background, and this trick helps improve the search and keep things simpler, because some of the characters are basically the inverse of each other, and here they can be joined together. And the color palette is quite twisted, but if we drag it to the outside in the working area and then put it back, it all of a sudden relaxes to its correct shape, where colors are placed based on their similarity. Well, reds stay here, greens stay in the middle, and the blues at the opposite side, and only the violets and other hues. As for the character graph. You can drag its nodes and see how it reacts to the disturbances, and the nodes are returned to their original position, but they are like atoms in a solid, so they tend to stay somewhere where at a local position where the forces are well, they cancel each other. Okay, let's see how much compression we can get using this algorithm, because it can be used with special fonts which are dedicated for graphics, and it could possibly be used for texture compression. And we can see that there are 4 bytes per cell and 2 bytes called character, and 2 bytes for foreground and background colors. And if we take a look at the size, it's 16 kilobytes, and the original image is 768 kilos, so we get a compression of this kinda well 60 times or something. About 50 times 48. So this method can be used for to make many lines. Let's make lines. Okay. These images can be plotted right into the console, so you can have some kind of graphics right in the text mode. It can be pretty neat. Of course, here's Mona Lisa, and you can see that I've kind of solved the mystery of her smile, and all of them are using the same console color palette. Surely this is not the optimal way to store images, and there's a font that I've drawn by hand and that is supposed to be used for texture compression. It has 8x4 pixel blocks which represent various shapes, and I proposed it to be used for texture compression. And of course it resembles the old attribute graphics kinda, which are used on the old display adapters, which could only display 2 colors per block, and the bit mask to select which color. And here it could be used for compression, and when using this font is kinda half a bit per pixel. There's just a tiny amount of information for the amount of detail it can convey. But in fact we are always trading something like a color resolution for spatial resolution when using that. So that's it.